be beaming, I be booming down that block. Everywhere you go, you know they know I'm hot.
What's the deal? What's going on, my good people? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Pull up a seat. I hope you enjoy the content. And before we get into this video, I want to ask that you like, comment, share, subscribe, and go ahead and tap that bell while you're at it so you're notified anytime I drop a brand new video, go live, or schedule a premiere. All right, y'all. So it's story time. It's my favorite day of the week. I hope y'all are excited. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. And let me say this. This is unlike any other story time because this one is actually based on true events. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So before I do, two things. First one, please make sure to share the video with anybody that that you think might enjoy it, with your friends on social media, doesn't matter. And then number two, please watch the ads. This is for me and any other content creator here on YouTube. It is a huge help for us. All right. So that's it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So this week's story is based on Bianca Dillard, a 31-year-old woman that was found dead in Los Angeles, California on August 26th, 2017. So no matter when you're watching this, this was recorded on the 4-year anniversary of her death. All right. So let's go ahead and get into Bianca and a little bit of her backstory, and how she made it to Los Angeles. So as I mentioned, she was 31 years old and she made her way to LA from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where she was born and raised. And that's where her family is as well. She's the oldest of 4 children. Her parents are still married. And, she grew up in a very religious household. So they would, go to church every Sunday, be there all day, first Sunday all day. And, she would kind of pay attention in church, but it's not like she's the kind of person that knows the Bible back and forth or anything like that. But, she's definitely a firm believer in God, right? And, as she's getting older, figuring out what she wants to do, her parents are really pressuring her to, go to college, number one, and they want her to be a lawyer. They want her to be successful. They want her to work in, an industry that makes a lot of money where she can, have something that's recession proof. And, she thinks about it at first. She plays around with going to law school, but she's just like, I don't want to do that. That does not interest me. And, for her, she'd rather be in Hollywood, in the film industry. She wants to be an editor. She wants to put stories together. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that she's really been passionate about. And she's kind of been doing this on the side and doing this behind her parents' back. Even though she's a young adult, she doesn't want to she doesn't want to disappoint her parents, I should say, because her parents really seem adamant and set on the fact that she's going to law school, So when she decides that she's not going to go to law school, her parents decide that they're not going to pay for her to go to college and she's going to have to pay for it herself out of pocket. And she's like, fine, so she ends up working 2 jobs. She does what she has to do, gets herself through college. She majors in TV and film, and she's doing a lot of things on her own though, too. You know what I'm saying? Like going to workshops, reading books, watching videos, really understanding what it takes to be an editor, and then also understanding other elements of filmmaking as well, So Bianca goes to college. She pays for herself to go to college. Her parents are actually very proud of her, for standing up for herself and doing what she had to do to get through college. They really, really respect her in that regard. But of course, they still feel some kind of way that she didn't, go to school for law. So she graduates and she's still in St. Louis. And she's like, okay, so now what? What am I going to do now? The TV and film industry is not booming out here like that. So she knows that it's now time for her to move across country. She's going to have to move to LA to be in the thick of it, to be in the middle of where things are popping, right? So as Bianca's packing up her things, getting ready to go to LA, her family is in her ear trying to talk her out of it. This is a bad idea. You don't need to go to LA. LA is going to chew you up and spit you out. It's going to be really hard. It's expensive. And so, she's not listening to any of that. She's just really focused and dedicated, to what it is that she wants to do. And also in all of this, she spent time in different online communities, getting to know other editors, getting to know other people in film and TV. She really was investing that time while she was in college. So luckily she built a couple of friendships, made some phone calls, let them know that she was going to be coming to LA, and people pulled some strings for her. She was able to find an apartment with no problem. And she also landed a position. So there's a small production company that needed an assistant editor. So she got to LA, had a job, had a place. It was a very smooth transition. So she hits the ground running. She's good. She's not struggling. She's learning. She's met a lot of the people in person, that she met in these different online communities, and things are going well. So she's about, in LA for about 3 or 4 months at this point. And she ends up going to this networking event, like an industry event, because she really is locked in terms of building relationships. Because we all know that, inside of Hollywood and outside of Hollywood, film, whatever industry, relationships are extremely important. And she knows that. So she's at this event. It's a networking event. And, she goes with two people that she, kind of met in these online communities. And they're there together, but they're all doing their own thing, kind of walking around, mixing and mingling with different people. And there comes a point where she's walking to go and refresh her drink. And she sees this woman. This woman catches her eye. She is beautiful, like drop dead gorgeous. She got this long flowy hair. She has these eyes. Her eyes just, light up any room. She has a beautiful smile. And she's kind of like passing by the woman. So she finds her attractive, but she also wants to know, what does she do? Who is she, right? So, she kind of passes her, introduces herself, and she says, hey, I'm Bianca. And the woman is like, hey, I'm Nicole Whitlock. And she's like, I'm a writer. She's like, I'm an editor. I'm new to LA. And, I'm happy to be at this event. How are you? What's going on? So this is exchanging, who they are and their goals and, what they're working on and stuff like that. So she finds out that Nicole is, as I said, a writer, and that Nicole just recently sold 2 scripts. So 2 of her scripts got picked up, and hopefully they will be produced and in movie theaters, within the next year or 2, right? So she is, she's on the rise, like she's doing, doing her thing or whatever, right? So they part ways and continue talking to other people. And when Bianca looks up, Nicole is looking at her, and then when Nicole looks up, Bianca's looking at her. So they really can't keep their eyes off of each other, right? As the night continues on. So as this networking event is coming to an end, Bianca steps to Nicole and is like, hey, like, I know that this may seem like a lot. You don't know me, but do you want to come back to my place? I don't really live far from here. I just want to know if you want to keep the night going and have a couple drinks. And to her surprise, Nicole is like, sure, yeah, I'm cool with that. So, Bianca, tells her what kind of car she has. She pulls up and waits for her outside, and she follows her to her house, right? So they go into her house. She has, like I said, it's a studio apartment, but it's a nice space. It's clean. It's decorated nicely. She lights some candles. She pulls out a bottle of tequila out of the freezer, pours them some shots. And, they're just chopping it up. They're just talking, getting to know each other, talking about the industry, even comparing notes about people that they like and don't like in the industry. And for every person that they dislike, that they both don't like, they take a shot. And they just kind of make a game out of it, right? But then as they continue to talk, they also realize they actually have a lot in common, And just like, Bianca, Nicole is from the Midwest. She's from Chicago. She's also the oldest of 4 siblings. Her parents are still married. And her parents weren't supportive of her, being a writer. They wanted her to be a doctor, And she's like, I have no interest in that at all. Like, no, and she really wanted to hold her ground and stand her ground about that in pursuing her writing career, because she knew that she could make it. And so she packed up from Chicago, made her way to LA, and she's been in LA for about 7 years, just, navigating and finding her way around. So they just sitting there talking and enjoying each other and laughing, and, the time is just passing by, but neither one of them is paying attention to their phones. They're not looking at the time or anything, right? So then suddenly, Nicole, like, she feeling it. She a little buzzed right now. They done had a couple of shots. And, she goes to Bianca, pushes her back on the couch, and she sits on top of her, like straddles on her lap, and they start to kiss each other. And, the kiss starts off kind of slow, then it builds up and it gets more intense. And as things are picking up, Nicole's phone starts to go off. So it's not ringing, but there's all these different notifications all of a sudden. So she can't ignore it any longer. She grabs her phone, she looks at it, and it's like, it's getting late, I have to go. So she doesn't say anything else, and she leaves, right? And so Bianca's just like, damn, like she, loved how they were vibing together, talking. And then truth be told, Bianca really felt like Nicole was out of her league. Like she felt like that kind of woman would never give her the time of day, right? So she was like, man. So she's just like on a high at this point and hates that it had to be over. So she eventually goes to sleep. She wakes up the next morning and she realizes like, damn, we didn't exchange numbers, right? So what does she do? She goes to social media. She finds Nicole's Instagram account. She has a verified account. She sends her a message. And it's like, hey, it was nice meeting you. I hate that you had to leave. Leaves a message. That's it, right? So about an hour or 2 later, she goes and checks her DMs and she looks to see that Nicole looked at the message but didn't respond. But she's not really tripping because she's like, she might be busy. She could have been in meetings. She might have a deadline or whatever. So by the end of the day, she checks again. Still no response. And she's like, hey, did you get my message? So she sends her another message, right? So same thing happens. Nicole reads the message, doesn't respond. So another day goes by, she decides to send one more message and she's like, call me. And she leaves her phone number. As soon as she sends the message, she can see immediately that Nicole read the message, but she's not typing back. She's not responding. And she's like, damn. And, just not getting a response, like this rejection doesn't make her slow down. Like she's even more interested in Nicole at this point. So she decides to go to her computer and she wants to Google information about Nicole to see if anything comes up. Like, her curiosity, she just has to know more about her, right? So she puts in Nicole Whitlock, and the first thing that comes back is about the 2 scripts that she recently sold. Like, she sold scripts back to back, but the issue is that she's being accused of stealing both ideas, right? So that's kind of swirling around Nicole's name. And then right below that, she had some beef with somebody on social media in the last couple of months. And then right below that, she sees that Nicole has a panel that's coming up. There's like this writer panel coming up. It's open to the public. It's free. And it's Nicole and like 4 other writers. And she's like, should I go? You know? And she's just staring at it. You know, the location's not far from her house. She's like, should I go? Thinks about it. She's like, I'm gonna go. So this is coming up the end of the week. So now let's fast forward the day of the panel. And, you know, Bianca has finished what she had to do. She did her project and stuff, her editing that she had to do, her deadline. She met her deadline, you know, turned it in. And now it's evening time. So she gets dressed, you know, she puts on her best cologne. You know, she's dressed, she looks nice, she looks at herself in the mirror. And, you know, she really wants to go out and look good and feel good about herself and be confident, you know, that when she steps to Nicole, you know, that she can get Nicole, you know, they can figure this out or what's going on, right? So she goes to the event, she sits there, and it's like stadium seating and it's packed, right? So like I said, it's Nicole and other writers. They're talking about writing and the industry and what to do and, you know, how to approach screenwriting and, you know, just giving different tips about different things, how to network, stuff like that. So the event is over, and, you know, Bianca doesn't step to Nicole. You know, Nicole, people are going up to her afterwards and, you know, wanting to talk to her on a more personal level, and she's just sitting watching the entire time. So now as the event is really winding down and it's over, everybody is wrapping up, Nicole is getting ready to go outside to her car. So Bianca, you know, is walking behind her, not too close, but close enough. And as she's almost to her car, she's like, hey, Nicole. And so Nicole turns around and she's like, hey, Bianca. She's like, what are you doing here? She's just like, nothing. I was just checking out the event. You know, I try to do as many industry things as I can. You know, there's always an opportunity to meet new people. Like, you just never know who might be in the audience or whatever. And she was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And so she was like, you know, I'm just curious. Like, can we, you know, finish what we started the other night? And so Nicole looks at her up and down, and she's just like, no, that's not a good idea. And she said, well, what did I do? Like, I mean, you came to my house, like, we had a connection. Like, how you just gonna, like, I mean, let me take you out. She was like, no, I'm not interested. Like, I'm good. I'm good. I think you should go ahead and get to your car. Let me get to my car. And, you know, if I see you in passing, it's cool, but I'm good. And so she watches Nicole get in her car and she drives off. And she's just standing there, like, dealing with the rejection that she just received, right? So she's like, damn. So she can't stop thinking about Nicole. So, you know, she's on her Instagram account, you know, looking at her story, sending her DMs like, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, please reconsider. Like, just let me take you out to dinner. I just want to sit and talk to you. Like, just sending all these back-to-back messages. So Nicole is reading these messages, every single one of them, but not every. She has never said anything at all. And then it gets to a point where she just blocks Bianca because, like, Bianca's just doing too much at this point, right? So a couple days go by, and, you know, Nicole gets an email, and it's an email from a production company, you know, saying like, hey, you know, we heard about one of your scripts that you're working on, and, you know, we want to see if we can get behind it and produce it and finance it and everything. And so she responds back to the email, and it's like, that sounds great, but, you know, contact my manager. And so the production company is like, well, I mean, we did contact your manager, but we never got a response. Can we meet with you one-on-one? You know, this is time sensitive. You know, we have a budget, and we want to really, you know, get some projects lined up ASAP, you know, so can you meet? And so she's looking at her calendar, looking at the time, and she's like, I can meet today. You know, I have some free time today. One of my meetings got canceled. You know, can you meet? And so, you know, it's a guy named Greg, and he's like, yeah, I can meet you. You know, let's meet at a Starbucks. I'll send you the location. This is what I'll have on. I'm having a gray shirt and a gray hat as well. And so she's like, all right, bet, you know, I'll look out for you. Right. So she goes to the Starbucks, and she's in there, you know, she found a seat. So she's just kind of, you know, chilling, looking through her emails on social media, you know, enjoying her caramel macchiato. Like, she's just chilling, right? She got there early. And so their, you know, appointment time comes, and it's like, okay, well, where is this guy? So 5 minutes go by, 15 minutes goes by. She waits 30 minutes, and she's like, man, this is some bullshit. You know, I should have, that's exactly why she wanted to filter everything through her manager. And she's just like, damn, a waste of my time. I drove all the way across town for this, and okay, whatever. So she's getting her things together, and before she stands up, all she hears this voice say is like, why don't you just talk to me? And so she's like, what? So she turns around, and sitting right behind her is Bianca. So Bianca set this meeting up. She set up a fake email account, went back and forth, with Nicole to set this up so that she could talk to her in person, in a public location. And so Nicole is like, I cannot fucking believe you. And she's just like, look, why are you ignoring me? She was like, all I want to do is talk to you, please. And so at that point, all that just happens is, pah! So Nicole slapped the shit out of her in front of everybody. Now, this slap was so loud that the Starbucks employees are looking over the counter. Customers are turning around. People are poking from behind their laptops. And, at this point, Bianca's embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? And Nicole is like, look, if you do something like this again, I'm calling the fucking police. Like, leave me alone. So then she grabs her things and she storms out. And so Bianca's just sitting there like, fuck. And she's embarrassed. Everybody is looking at her. And she's really just thinking about, what she's done. Like, the extent that she's gone, to get this woman's attention, right? And so she sits there, she gets her things, she collects herself, she gets in the car, she goes home, and she's just really thinking like, fuck, like I'm losing it, like I'm tripping. I get that she's out of my league, but this is too much, this is too far. So she realizes that it's time for her to snap back, and in order to do that, she just throws herself into work. So she's working at this production company, but she's also taking side gigs. She's really just knocking shit out. Like, she's working around the clock. Just, editing, just working. I mean, she's barely taking any time off. Like, she almost works for 30 days straight. She really is just isolated to herself. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's taking her family, like their phone calls and stuff like that, but she's not taking a whole lot of time to do anything else. She's not really taking full days off. She's not sleeping a whole lot. And she just really dedicates herself to, like, for her, this feels like she's reconnecting to the reason she came to LA. But she's getting sidetracked. You know what I'm saying? Like, she got sidetracked by a woman, and she's like, yo, like, I'm allowing this to throw me off of what it is I'm here for, So she, went hard with the editing for 30 days. And at this point, she comes up for air, and it's like, okay, I worked really hard, and now it's time to play. I want to have a little fun. So she reaches out to a couple of her friends, and, somebody tells her about a day party. So she's like, I'm with it. I'm down. Send me the information. So her friend tags her in the flyer, for the day party, right? So she goes out, gets a haircut, comes home, opens a brand new bottle of cologne. She showers, puts on a brand new outfit, new pair of tennis shoes. Like, she's looking good, feeling good, and happy to get out the house. Happy that she's getting out to do something for herself other than look at these four walls and on the computer all day, right? So she gets on her cell phone because she needs the address. So she goes onto her Instagram account, and she needs to go look at this, what she was tagged in. So she pulls the account up, she looks at the flyer, and she notices a comment. The comment that she notices is from Nicole. So Nicole is saying it like, hey, like, we in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's saying that she's going to be at this event. And so Bianca's like, fuck, should I go? Like, I don't want her to think that I'm like after her, because I'm not. It's not like that. I'm just really going just to have a good time, So she's like thinking about it, and she's like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to go. This is LA. Like, a lot of people always end up at the same place at the same time, So what she decides to do, though, she goes into a burner account because she got blocked, by Nicole from her main account. She goes into a burner account, and she sends Nicole a message, and she's like, hey Nicole, just a heads up, I'm going to be at that day party, but you won't even notice me. I hope you have a good time, and I hope everything is well. Bianca, she sends the message, right? Because she just wants to, just give her a heads up that, you might see me, but it's not like that. So Bianca, gets to the day party, and it's a party that's about 5 to 10. So she gets there about 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's summertime. So, 6 o'clock, the sun is still out. It's warm. It's beautiful. The DJs are cracking. They playing everything. The bars are cracking as well. They got drink specials. People are all on the bar dancing. It's all kind of shit going on at this day party. It's twerking. There's dancing. Bottle service sections, everything, and it's just a good time. And she feels good getting out the house, seeing her friends, laughing, catching up, seeing what they've been up to, because she ain't really talked to nobody for the last month. And, just happy that her friends got her out the house. You know what I'm saying? So at one point, she goes to the bathroom, comes back, has a couple more drinks. So at this point, she's about 3 or 4 drinks in, and she is feeling herself. She's tipsy. So she goes to the bathroom again because she done broke the seal, goes to the bathroom, comes back, and she looks across the way, and she sees Nicole. Nicole is in a section with 3 of her friends. And so, at that point, she's just like, she stops. It's like everything around her stops. And she's just looking, and she's like, damn, Nicole. Like, how fine she is, and just, imagining them together. Like, why did this woman what did I do? Like, I need her in my life. Like, she just standing there just like obsessed, you know what I'm saying? Just looking at her. She's not saying nothing, and she knows she's not going to go up to her, but she just looking at her, you know what I'm saying? She's not engaging with her friends. She just kind of zoned out. And so then eventually, you know, it's about 9 o'clock. So her friends is like, hey, we're about to leave. And so she's like, you know, go ahead. Like, I'm good. I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer, right? So Bianca starts to inch closer and closer to the section where Nicole is with her friends, right? And where they are, the DJ is far away. So you can hear the music, but in this area where they are, it's easy for you to talk, right? So she gets closer and closer to the section, and she can hear, you know, Nicole talking to her friends, but they can't see her. They can't see Bianca. And so she hears their plans on what they plan on doing next. So what they plan on doing next is going to a diner. You know, they've been drinking. You know, they want to sober up or whatever. So they're like, all right, bet. This is where we're going to go, right? So Bianca takes that information, goes to her car, and she drives over to the diner because it's not that far from where they are, right? She goes to the diner, and she finds a good parking space so she can see people coming in and out of this diner, right? So she's there for about 20-25 minutes when eventually Nicole walks up with her friends. So they in separate cars, but, you know, they walk up, wait for each other, and they walk in together. She sees them, and she's just watching the entire time, right? So she sees with them, you know, talking to their waiter, sees them laughing at the table, you know, sees them ordering their food, getting their food, eating, paying the bill, everything. She's watching every single move, right, in her car. So she's just watching and watching and watching, right? So eventually about an hour, 15 minutes later, the ladies come out, and Nicole is walking to her car, and, you know, she sees her driving off. So she decides to follow her. Now, when she's following her, she has no idea where she's going. She doesn't know where Nicole lives, doesn't know what part of town, doesn't know anything. She's just following her at this point, right? So she's following her, you know, making sure that she can't be seen. And, you know, they're driving like this canyon area. So she kind of like lives in the hills, you know, like a hilly area or whatever. So they're driving, you know, and she still has her distance, you know, because it's other cars in the area as well. So it's not too obvious, right? So she's doing, you know, what she needs to be done, you know, needs to do to not be seen, right? So driving. Nicole is driving, she's driving, and eventually she pulls up to this neighborhood, pulls up to a house. She goes to the driveway. You know, Bianca can see her reach up for the clicker, and it opens the garage. There's no other car in the garage, and Nicole drives in, but she doesn't immediately close the garage. So she's sitting in the car for a minute. You know, I don't know if she's looking through her purse, if she's looking on her phone. Not really sure what's happening, but there's no like sense of urgency to close the garage behind her, right? So Bianca's now thinking like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to say something? Am I going to do something? Like, she's a little intoxicated still, you know, like she's not really sure what she's going to do. So she's just sitting there just watching Nicole, right? So at this point, Nicole is still in the car, and Bianca decides to get out of the car because she's not really sure what she's going to do, if she's going to say something when Nicole gets out of the car. And she gets out of the car. She gently closes her door. You know, she creeps quietly across the street, and she's by, you know, Nicole's house. And so Nicole finally gets out of the car, and she has the clicker in her hand. She clicks it, and the garage is now starting to close. And she's making her way into the house, right? Now, before the garage actually closes, Bianca gets in the garage, and she's just there. And so now she's like, okay, now what am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? So at this point, Nicole is in the house doing whatever she's doing, whether she's gone upstairs, whether she's, you know, close by the door at this point, you know, she doesn't know. So she's sitting quietly in the garage for about 30 minutes. And she's like, okay, so what am I going to do now, right? So then she creeps quietly over to the door that leads into the house. Like, her curiosity, she wants to know, like, is the door open? So she goes over to it, she grabs it, and it's open, it's unlocked. And so she's like, okay. So she pokes her head in, and she listens, and she looks. It's completely pitch black. There's no sound, nothing at all. So she's like, okay, so what am I going to do? Like, am I going to go inside, or what am I going to do? Because at this point, how am I even fucking get out? How am I going to leave if I want to leave? So I have to go through the house to leave. So Bianca's in the house. She's feeling on the walls to kind of guide her through. And eventually she makes her way to the steps, and she kind of is just going up the stairs, right? Because it's completely pitch black downstairs, and it also looks quiet and dark upstairs as well. So she goes up the stairs, makes it to the second floor, and she's walking very slowly, quietly. Because you know how when a house, when it's late and it settles, and the creeping noise that it makes when you're walking, she's really trying to take it easy, right, when she's walking. So she passes by one bedroom, then it's a second bedroom, then there's a bathroom off to the right, and then she eventually makes it to the master bedroom, right? So she looks, and the door is kind of cracked open. It's very quiet, and it's dark inside of this master bedroom. So she pushes the door open, and she sees Nicole. And Nicole's in the bed, the middle of the bed. It's like a king-size bed. She's laying there, and she has an eye mask on, and she's gone, like she's knocked out. And so she just walks over to her quietly, taking one step at a time, slowly gets to the side of the bed, and she's just looking at her, admiring her, adoring her, wishing that this woman will give her a chance. And she's just looking, wanting to, bend down and touch her, wanting to whisper in her ear, wanting to do something, but she's just looking. Then Nicole kind of moves a little bit in the bed, and it's kind of like freaks her out a little bit, and she's like, okay, let me get my ass up out of here. Like, let me get the fuck up out of this woman's house. I'm losing it. Let me go. So as she's making her way back down the hallway to go down the stairs, she hears keys at the front door. And so she's like, fuck. So she gets back into one of the guest rooms that she passed in the hallway. She goes in there, and she's just like, fuck, is this her roommate? Is this like, who could this be that's coming in, And so she hears the keys jingle, hears the door open, then close, and she hears boots. They're like heavy work boots. And, she hears the person put the keys down on the counter. She hears maybe paper shuffling or envelopes. Maybe this person grabbed the mail or something. And then the person isn't downstairs for long, and they make their way up the stairs too. So the boots up the stairs, boom, 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 boom. They're coming up the stairs, right? So the person is making their way around the banister, and now they're walking past the first room. They're about to approach the second room, where Bianca is, and they walk past it. So she can hear them walk past it, but she can't see the person. She can hear them though. And the person goes into the master bedroom, and she can see the light flips on, and she hears a man's voice. And the man says, hey, baby. Hey, babe. Baby. You could tell that he's trying to wake Nicole up. And then Nicole eventually wakes up, and he's like, hey, baby. And she's like, hey, babe. How are you? And she's like, I'm good. He's like, I'm good. He's like, how are you? How was the party? And she was like, it was fun. I had a really good time. And he was like, good. I'm about to go ahead and jump in the shower. She was like, yeah, get in the shower. I'll be here. I'll be up. I'm gonna get up. And so she's like, fuck. Is that her boyfriend? Is that her husband? She likes men. Does she just fuck around women on the side? Does she mislead women on the side? Like, now Bianca is just, driving herself nuts, asking all these questions. But she knows she needs to get the fuck up out of this house, right? So she is trying to creep to the door to get out of this room, making her way into the hallway. And as she's doing it, she knocks something over. It crashes to the ground. And she's like, fuck. Hoping, wondering if they heard that, right? And so she hears the man's voice, and he's like, babe. And you could tell that he's in the bathroom. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, did you hear that? And she's like, no, I didn't hear nothing. And so she continues to walk, creeping to get back down the stairs. And she almost falls down the stairs at this point. So she makes a rumbling noise. And then Nicole's like, I heard that, babe. She's like, I think somebody might be in the house. And so he rushes out. And now at this point, Bianca takes off. Now she runs because she could see a little bit of light to where the door is. And like, she runs to the door, unlocks it, gets out. And she's just running at this point because she has no idea what's about to happen. And she makes her way, pulls her key out of her front pocket. And then she opens her door. She's, she unlocks it as she's running to her car. And she jumps in and she just takes off. Skirt! Like, she skirts off of the street, turns around, and makes her way out of the neighborhood. And she's driving. She's frantic. She's confused. Her heart is racing. She doesn't know what's going to happen. Are they going to give chase? Like, she has no idea. Did they have cameras? Do they know that she was there? Like, she's just freaking out at this point, trying to get her way out of this neighborhood. And it's just all happening so fast. And she is driving, and then she's on this street. Like I said, she's in a canyon area, so the roads are tight. It's a one-way in, one-way out situation. And there comes a turn that's very, very sharp, when she should have slowed down, but she didn't. And she's almost going into oncoming traffic, but then she swerves, and then pow, she hits a telephone pole. And that's it, the impact. She was driving way too fast, and it just slammed her into this pole, and she died on impact. And that's it. And that is how Bianca Dillard died on August 26, 2017, in a car accident that obviously could have been prevented. And I think that this is just a classic story of rejection, obsession, like I said, her wanting somebody that was so far out of her league, and this woman kind of giving her the time of day. But like, when she rejected her advances, she should have let that shit go. Let it go. Like, why are you allowing this to fester? Like, you could have moved on, looked for somebody else, got on a dating app, asked friends if they knew anybody. Like, what was so special about this particular woman? And then you got yourself killed because of your obsession, So, I know it can be very deep rooted when people get rejected and they just don't know how to deal with it, and they want to fix it. They want to overcome it. They want to figure it out. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So Bianca definitely brought this on herself. you know, when she saw Nicole at the panel, you know, when she showed up, and she shouldn't have been there either. When she told her she wasn't interested, that should have been it. She should have washed her hands of the situation. No, I take that back. It should have been over when the woman wasn't responding to your DMs, and clearly she was reading them. You know what I'm saying? Then you started taking matters into your own hands and trying to be places where this woman was, and then you set up a fake meeting. You really got to check yourself and think about where you are mentally when you start doing shit like that. So that's the story, y'all. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Meet me in the comments. And I appreciate y'all. Make the best of the day, y'all. Be good to yourself. Peace.
I be beaming, I be booming down that block. Everywhere you go, you know they know I'm hot.